have to ask you, if the tables were turned and it was Dick Cheney or Karl Rove who had a private email account and a private server on which they conducted all their government business, would you be as understanding?
I would never have done that. Look at the situation they chose to exploit, to go after me for political reasons. The death of 4 Americans in Benghazi.
Ooh, I thought she was going to raise her arms and say, what difference does it make? But she didn't have the green dress on, or whatever, pantsuit. Welcome to the Malzberg panel, ladies and gentlemen, and joining us on said panel, Jim Hoft of thegatewaypundit.com, conservative blogger and investigative reporter, and Brad Hirschfield, author of You Don't Have to Be Wrong for Me to Be Right, and president of CLAL. All right, gentlemen, let me start with you, Jim. Savannah Guthrie asked a question. I give her credit for asking that question. And Hillary made like she didn't hear the question and then gave a completely different answer to, I guess, a different question.
Yeah, she's still doesn't know how to answer for her actions on this, and she's getting deeper and deeper in the muck by the day. As we saw some more headlines coming out today that there's maybe more emails found out on a different server. So this just doesn't look good for Hillary. It's really showing in the polls.
Yeah, I mean, Brad, that question was a fair question, certainly. It's not something anybody else has asked her, but she didn't respond to it.
No, it was a totally appropriate question. It was actually asked, I think, gently and respectfully. And you're right. The biggest problem, and Jim said it well, too, she couldn't answer the question. It's not that she tried and did it badly. It's as if, and I think this is her biggest problem, she doesn't understand that she has things for which she needs to answer. Is there a good answer? Maybe. Do we know? Absolutely not. Why? Because she won't answer direct questions. That's a problem, whatever you think of her and what she did. It has to be a problem.
All right, before we go on to, as was alluded to by Jim, the other tech company, and what one of those employees is said reportedly about Hillary and the whole thing. I want to go to something that Ben Carson said in the previous segment on this show, Jim, and that is that Joe Biden will get the nomination for the Democrats. There's no way it's going to be Hillary, and we will have, and then assuming that it's Ben Carson as the nominee, we will have one of the most clear-cut choices for the general election that we've ever had. You buy all that?
I don't know why these Democrats still are trying to count out Bernie Sanders. His crowds are incredible. The enthusiasm is there. Granted, he's a strong socialist, but that's what Democrats seem to want. And I just want to brush him aside at this point at all.
All right, what about it, Brad?
Well, actually, Sanders and Biden are tied neck and neck. Hillary has a big lead. The interesting thing is that she may get the nomination, but of those 3, she is the one least likely to win the presidency. So that's a very strange place to be. The truth is the same situation we said for Donald Trump, where the party's leading contender to get the nomination of their party for the office of the President of the United States is the one least likely to win. So both parties are now going to have to choose. Do they want the candidate they want, or do they want to win the White House?
All right, well, let's get back to Hillary here, and before we get to the email, second tech company, there was a focus group on MSNBC, of all places, where they assembled a bunch of people, and I believe this was in Iowa, and no, New Hampshire, and listen to what one of the voters at least had to say about Hillary.
I think that can put off a lot of male voters.
Oh, tell me what it's like. What are you seeing that you're seeing?
When she's, I don't want to use the word, but
you can.
It's that like women need to be equal. I mean, I don't feel unequal.
I agree. I don't feel unequal. I don't feel that I've had a job where I feel unequal to my male counterparts. So it's not an issue that speaks to me.
They called her, Jim, bitchy.
Yeah, put that on a bumper sticker.
And by the way, that was on thegatewaypundit.com as well.
Right.
So what do you
put that on a bumper sticker? That's devastating. It says it all.
Yeah, Brad, it goes a long way towards describing how a lot of people, including, by the way, untrustful, liar, whatever, and that B word came up here.
Well, we know the single word that comes up most often, or words, when asked about Hillary, are deceitful, untrustworthy, and liar. So she clearly has a problem, and there's no getting away from it, and actually I think she makes it worse every time she refuses to answer a question. It's like any other politician, and they always learn too darn late. It's often less the sin than the cover-up. You come clean. This is actually a forgiving nation, but you gotta come clean.
All right, let me give you a quote here. Starting to think this whole thing really is covering up some shady blank, and that's the S word, some shady blank, according to an employee of a second tech company that was involved with Hillary's server. And Brad, I mean, if this is just, I just didn't want to use two phones, you don't have two tech companies involved with a private site. I thought the server was in her basement, in her house. It was Bill Clinton's. It was already there. Why are there now two tech companies involved?
You know, for the same reason that legions of forensic accountants cannot figure out what the heck is going on at the Clinton Foundation, we're now going to see, I bet, more than two tech companies, because they keep defaulting to the idea that if you make it hard enough, you can't get caught. But the truth is, eventually you do, and this is what happens.
And there's also a story, Jim, that, speaking of the Clinton Foundation, that Ireland, where the Clintons have their Clinton Foundation set up, they've taken donations. Apparently, they're not registered as a charity, yet they're taking charitable contributions. That's a WND story. So, you know, how much trouble is she in here?
It's devastating. I see there was a great question out on the internet a while back saying, prove that this is not a slush fund, the Clinton Foundation, and I don't think anyone yet has been able to prove that. It seems more dirty than we thought originally.
All right, Jim and Brad will be back. We have a lot to talk about in the second half. One more on Hillary. She said that Kim Davis should have gone to jail. She belonged there. We'll talk about that. Don't go away. All right, welcome back. The Malzberg panel in full swing, part two. Jim Hoft is here and Brad Hirschfield is here. And gentlemen, let me read you what Hillary had to say today at Cornell College in Mount Vernon, Iowa. Who knew there was such a place? But there is. And what she said was that Davis, the Kentucky clerk who refused to issue the marriage licenses to the gay couples, that she belonged in jail. She said Kim Davis was treated as she should have been treated. You know, I don't know anybody who's really said that. Jim, this is kind of really appealing to the hard left.
It's amazing, isn't it? Quite a leap for Hillary from 6 years ago, where she supported traditional marriage, to today where she wants to imprison Christians.
That's a good point. Brad?
Well, I don't know that she wants to imprison Christians, and actually much of the country her views have changed, including many evangelical Christians who, while they support religiously only straight marriage, have said legally they can manage to support same-sex marriage. The truth is there weren't a lot of legal remedies in the Kim Davis case. What I would have liked her to have said is, yes, she needed to go to jail because she refused to do her job. Recall wasn't an option. That was the only option there. But then she also deserved to get out of jail because, in fact, they have found a workable alternative solution in her county, which is that she does not participate in the process. Other employees do. It seems to respect her conscience and the law at the same time.
I don't want to relitigate we don't have time to go into this, but there's no way this woman belonged in jail. When the President of the United States, according to great legal scholars who voted for him, have said, testified before Congress that he's the person that the Founding Fathers feared, that he violated the Constitution, he's broken the law, and he's still walking around as far as I can tell, and so is Lois Lerner and others. But let's move on. I want you guys, this is off the Gateway Pundit website, Jim Hoft's website. This is a hero, Chris Mintz, who was shot 7 times by the Oregon shooter as he tried to save others. And listen to this.
We know that now President Obama is going to be traveling to Roseburg on Friday to meet with families. If you have an opportunity to meet with them, what would you say?
Really? I would tell them to look where the problem really lies and quit running the agenda of quit running the gun agenda. It's not the problem. It's our mental health in America.
All right, that was not. That was my fault. That was not Chris Mintz. That was the brother of a survivor of the shooting. When he found out on CNN that Obama plans to be in Roseburg on Friday, he didn't want any part of him. A lot of people are echoing him that they don't want any part of him. But I think it's very interesting that one of those people apparently is the veteran, the Army veteran, the military veteran, Chris Mintz. Jim, what do you say?
Well, it's not just Chris Mintz. It's a local sheriff, the police officers, the county commissioners. They don't want Obama to come and politicize this. There's a Facebook page where over 3,000 people have signed up to attend a rally on Friday to protest Obama being there. And the Obama administration says it won't be about politics. But today I'm getting emails from Obama's Organizing for America, and they're already pushing you to contact your representative so that they can get new gun laws passed.
Brad,
so it's kind of a double statement coming out of this administration right now.
This is despicable, Brad, because from day one, while the bodies were still in the school, he said, yeah, I'm politicizing it. Yeah, I should politicize it. It's disgraceful.
Well, I think neither side should politicize it, so I agree with you 100% about 50% of it. Here's the bottom line we know.
Who started politicizing?
Steve,
wait, no.
Steve,
you can't.
Both sides did, and yes, I can.
Time out.
So
the president was the first one to politicize it.
No,
he came
it's
out.
It's actually not true.
Brad,
it's just not true.
Brad, the president came out when the bodies were still in the school.
We agree.
So he was the first one.
But he wasn't the only one to do it.
To start and saying, so who politicized
we can pull down
the
the
other
quotes,
side?
and the NRA came out quickly saying if we had armed people, this wouldn't have happened. But I'm not going to go down that road because here's what we know.
Not before the
Most
president.
of the laws the president and the administration are advocating for will not make us materially safer in the short term. Where I happen to agree with them is that if we had different kind of gun laws over 25, 50, 100 years, we could create a different culture. But let's be clear, in the short term, what that gentleman who's a survivor said, deal with mental health issues, deal with enforcement of the laws we've got, that's what will make us safer.
All right, Jim Hoft, Brad Hirschfield, great talking to both of you. Thank you very much. Up next, Senior Fellow with the Heritage Foundation, Stephen Moore. But first, remember, tune in tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're having a sit-down interview, another part with Dr. Ben Carson. He'll be joining us to discuss anti-Christian sentiment in the U.S., as well as Putin, Russia, Iran, and Obama's foreign policy. That's 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow on the Steve Malzberg Show, only on Newsmax television. And with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, and the fact that Dr. Ben Carson is right up there with Donald Trump in the polls and leading in some states, we want to know who is your 2016 GOP candidate. Go to newsmaxpolls.com and vote now. That's newsmaxpolls.com. Do it now.